It's the Financial Style on New Style Radio 98.7 FM. Making money make sense. Welcome back. It's approaching 11:30 here on New Star Radio 98.7 FM. I'm Marisha, of course, with you each and every Friday morning, where we make sure that your money makes sense. Now, this morning we've been talking about speaking and becoming a professional and inspirational speaker, and why motivational speaking is something that's within all of us and something that's within all of our capability. And I'm very pleased to welcome Steve back.
Oh.
So, just before the break, we were talking about the fact that really everybody's got a voice. Yeah. Everybody has got a passion and something that they can speak about in a way that inspires and motivates.
Yeah.
But let's get down to sort of the nitty-gritty. How do we start to actually make this happen?
Right, well, the first thing, as I said earlier, find something that you have a passion for, all right? You might not call it a passion, but something you can talk about endlessly, and you just, for whatever reason, you could just talk about it, and there's never this resistance in speaking about it, because there's a flow within you, all right? That's your passion. What you need to do is look at a topic. What topic that you kind of think to yourself, this means a lot to me? So, for example, staying in school is a real big challenge. Yes, there's a lot of young people who don't want to stay in school. Yeah. It could be relationships. You could have been in a relationship and you're kind of thinking, you know what, I need to be telling the people about relationships. I need to know what the challenges are. It could be teenage pregnancies. Yeah, there could be a whole range of things that within you, you're saying, I'm passionate about this. Something has to happen and I need to be that change. Okay? Once you've got that idea, you can build on that. What I think is the most important thing is then to look at the pain I spoke about earlier, but you need to just actively go out there and think, well, where can I kind of give this message where people are going to say, I want to hear what you're talking about. Oh, you know, the teenage pregnancy, there's a youth club down the road, I need you, do you mind, just 5-10 minutes? You should say, yes, I'll go now, because the reality is people want to hear what you've got to say. They want to tap into your passion. Once you've done that, it's then looking at, well, how can I kind of get this into a structured kind of setup where people are going to be asking me perhaps to speak about this topic at a time, at a place. And now what I'm saying now is actually start to structure together a talk. Okay?
Absolutely.
So initially it was just to talk about pregnancy, teenage pregnancy. You could actually then come up with a talk. So it could be something like 7 ways. Now 7's a very popular number in the whole of marketing and media. You hear 7 steps or whatever. 7 ways to help a teenager to look within themselves and realise how great they are. Now that could cover a multitude of topics, but obviously you could be focusing this with teenage pregnancies, because you could say stereotypically when you're not confident, maybe you're in an environment where you don't feel confident and all of a sudden you're doing things you don't want to do. Do you see what I mean? How that just that topic can cover teenage pregnancies, it can cover confidence with individuals. So you need to come up with some steps that kind of sum up, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to talk about, and this is how I'm going to do it. Most important thing, and I'm working with a young man at the moment because I'm doing a lot of mentoring around this, he said to me, Steve, how much do I charge?
Yes, and I was going to come on to that. I was going to say, how do people know what they're worth?
How do I charge? What should I charge? Steve, should I charge? The same young man that asked me that question, I said to him, what experience have you got? And he said, well, I haven't got that much really. And I said, what difference do you think you can make to that audience? And I said, well, I'm not really sure. I said, in that case, what you should do is do it for nothing.
Yeah.
He paused. I said, you're crazy. I'm travelling from the other side of London, because he's from North London, he's going to South London. And you want me to do it for free?
I was going to say, that within itself is a challenge. You don't want to pull a northerner down south.
Tell me about it, yeah. He said, that's just not on. Why would I do that? I said, this is what you've got to bear in mind. Now, some of the stuff I'm talking about is linking in with a coaching program I'm going to talk about later. But this is really important. This is what I often say. When you speak for nothing, you're not speaking for nothing. What you need to do is set up the situation. So therefore, when you've spoken, people are able to write down evidence of you speaking, and you can take that evidence away with you. When I first started speaking, it was a guy who worked for the BBC asked me to do a talk, but they've got no budget, but just talk a little bit about BBC and can you do it? Now it was the other side of London, it was going to cost me at least £20 or £30 to get there, and I said, yes, no problem. A friend of mine said to me, why would you do that? That don't make no sense. You're doing it, money's coming out of your pocket, and you're doing it for free. What I did, I set up an evaluation form. okay, and I had my name along it, I knew in myself I was good. And I knew the topic I was talking about, which is about mindset, I knew I was going to kick it. So what happened, I did my talk, I spoke for about 20 minutes. After I'd finished, I asked the audience to fill in an evaluation form. And the guy that put it together, can he fill in an evaluation form? What you now have is evidence that you've spoken at the BBC about your topic. People don't need to know that you did it for free and you travelled the other side of London and it cost you 30 quid to get there. The reality is you've collated evidence. So when you then put it onto your website or social media, you can say, I've spoken at the BBC. That's just a small example of just thinking wisely about when you do speak. It's not about the money, because the money will chase you. It will chase you. As soon as you get to a stage where people are thinking, we need this guy, they will pay. And as I gave the example about the amount of money I was paid not too long ago, it was because I'd increased my value. So that's just a little tip that I recommend when it comes to people. Find what you're passionate about, find people that need that, get in that environment and do it for free. Even if they offer to pay you, do it for free. Because as soon as you do it for a value they've given you, you have to stay at that point. Does that make sense?
It does. And you know, it's so funny that you say that, because a couple of months back I was invited to do a talk and it was a similar thing. Somebody actually did offer to pay me and said, well, we can give you this and we can give you that. And I said to her, no. And you know, I think exactly that reason, I think one of the reasons actually as well is that I was very mindful of the audience and I just wanted to make an impression on them, and that was all I wanted to do. So it's funny because I never actually thought about it from the way that you just put it, but you're quite right. As soon as you go, well, yeah, I'll take the 25 quid or the 100 quid that you want to pay, as you say, you're almost now stamping that value on yourself, and then what happens after that?
Yeah, so you can't go anywhere with that. It's very, very important.
Now, I just want to touch for a moment on where your inspirations have come from. Because one of the things that I'll be honest and say I find very fascinating when I listen to you is how you draw from so much knowledge, actually. And you'll talk about different people, Les Brown and so forth. So where's your inspiration coming from? And how do you hone your skill? And that's the phrase I'm going to use, because clearly you're very talented for this. But we all know that talent only opens the door. Skill is what takes us the rest of the way. So what have you been doing for that on a personal level, and what inspires you to keep pushing forward?
What I've learned, and Les Brown always said, is that you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. And what you need to do is step outside and say to yourself, well, how good can I be? And the whole idea is to look at people that are doing that you want to do, that you want to do. Find those people. Les Brown was my inspiration. But it was all about looking at what he does, how he does it, and how well he does it, and his structure of how he tells his story. So another thing I'll talk about when I'm coaching is you've got to have a story.
Yes.
Yeah? What's your story? We've all got stories. We're all here. Yeah? All four of us are here. And we all have our own story that you can tell which is unique. But at the same time, people think, yeah, that happened to me. So what I did, I listened to Les Brown, realised I had to have a story, what happened to my life. You know, so for example, if I had a job and I hated my job so much, even on Saturday afternoons I used to get depressed about going to work on Monday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Highest heart attack rate is on a Monday morning between 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock because people don't want to go to work. 78% of people are unhappy in their jobs. All of these things were me. So when I then started talking, I could then see the people going, because that was them.
Yeah.
And what you don't want an audience saying, so what? You want the audience saying, me too. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So all of a sudden there's a link, because the people you're talking to are saying, you're talking about me. So anything then comes out of your mouth afterwards, it's like, that happened to me as well. So they were things I learned from Les Brown. He was my inspiration. One of the things I learned as well is to constantly listen to other types of speakers. So we spoke about Les Brown, but Jim Rohn in particular, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Nido Cobain, I could just run the list off. They all had their styles, but the message is always the same. It's all about you and how you start within yourself. So I then started to create programs, things I was passionate with, like mindset, and how can you change your mindset, and things like when you change the way you look at something, the thing you look at changes. I remember when they put the charges for the carrier bags, and the first time they caught me out, I must have, I don't know, about 50, 60 pounds of shopping. The lady said, do I want a bag? And I thought, of course I want a bag, you're crazy. And she said, how many do you want? I thought, this woman cares, man. Yeah, well, 6 bags. She goes, that'd be 30p.
And you're like,
And
what?
I paused. I said, what do you mean 30p? I don't understand. He said, yeah, you have to pay for the bags now. All of a sudden, I took the bags, took my shopping home. I had a different way of looking at a carrier bag.
Absolutely,
At
we all
home.
did.
How many times, guys, we've seen, haven't we, in Tesco's, everyone's carrying the carrier bags as they're going into Tesco's. Like, I ain't buying a carrier bag because I've got my own.
Yeah.
What's happened? You've changed the way you look at something, and the thing you're looking at then changes. And I think that's how you have to be in speaking. You need to change the way of you just maybe just speaking to an audience, but speaking to an audience and getting that audience thinking, I need to do what you've just said to me because I've experienced that. So that story of the carrier bag is a typical one because we've all been there and we've all kind of 5 people. Yeah. So it's experiences and how you can generate that audience. So make the audience kind of think, I really want to buy into what you're talking about. Yeah, very, very important.
And yeah, I mean, I'm completely with you on that. It's made me think of a couple of funny things because you're right. You know, all of a sudden the carrier bags that when there were too many, you'd throw in the bin. Like now they're going back in the car,
There we go.
ready for the next load.
There
you
we
know,
go, yeah.
I've even started putting them in pockets just in case I don't forget. So I feel you.
Yeah.
It does change the mindset. So what do you say to people who are hearing what you're saying and thinking, yeah, you're speaking to me, and I feel like I want to get into this and I want to do more, but I'm afraid.
Right. Being afraid is natural, and in fact, I've found that when you're kind of on the edge is when you kind of create the best within you. Fear is one of those things, everyone talks about false evidence appearing real, but I think it's about people around you that often determines your fear. So they'll say to you, go speak, that's going to be your career? God, that's not going to happen, man. A friend of mine was saying X, Y, Z, and you'll find people that will have an effect on how you do things. And it ties up quite neatly with what I've learned about surrounding yourself around people that are doing the things that you want to do. I've got a coach, and I've had a coach now for 8 years, and this guy kind of guides me through what I want to do. So the metaphor is like, for example, going into a room and he'll say to me, for example, if I was you, I'd go into the bedroom. If I was you, I'd go into the bathroom. And then he'd leave me to it. So having someone to guide you, I think, is really, really important. Once you've got that, you then become yourself rather than fear kind of taking you all over the place. And I read somewhere when fear enters the frame, logic leaves. And that's what often happens because you're in a job, I've got to stay here, I'm not happy where I am, but I ain't going to do nothing else because I ain't happy about where I am. But it's that fear that keeps me in place. But finding a coach is really important. And this is why I've kind of said to myself, I need to be able to put something together to help people on that journey.
Yes, so for those listening and think, well, yeah, I don't just want a coach, I want Steve.
Okay.
What do we do?
Right, well, first of all, I'm going to say this is about people that are serious about it. So I've worked with a number of people that say, yeah, I want to speak. But as soon as they start thinking about putting in time to do this or even cost, there's a problem. And Les Brown said information costs, but it pays for itself. So I had this coaching program, which I've actually stopped, but now I'm starting again. But I'm only going to have 7 people on it. Okay, because what I did before, I just found my workload, travelling and all the rest of it, it was just taking up too much of my time. So basically I'm just having 7 people on this, okay? What I decided to do, send me an email, and I'll give my email address as steve@thespeakerwiththeorangetie.com.
Yeah.
Okay? But before 6 o'clock today. And I do that on purpose, because if you mean it, you're going to do it.
Absolutely.
If you say, yeah, like, man, I'll do it the weekend, you ain't going to do it, okay? So the people that do email me before 6 o'clock, I know they're serious about it, okay?
Yeah.
What will then happen, I'll respond back to them with a coaching time, okay, that I have available. Now, I've got some dates, Monday the 21st between 9 o'clock and 6 p.m, and Wednesday the 23rd, 9 o'clock to 13:13. It's quite particular because I'm actually going away on Wednesday, so I'm going to have a break, just move away. I'm just doing all my stuff for the family, so I'm really looking forward to that. But what I want to do is bring my coaching clients on board. Give me a time you're available. It's only going to be a 20-minute slot, okay? Because I'm going to decide whether I can work with you or not. So I was talking to a girl a couple of weeks ago. She wants to get into speaking, and I said, well, what have you done? Oh, I'm not sure, but you know what, I want to help the kids because I used to be a kid and whatever. And I said, you know what, we can't work, man. Yeah. And it wasn't about the money because I knew it wasn't going to work, okay?
Yeah.
So 7 people is all I need on my workshop, okay? What I want to be able to do is take you through, it is like a journey, but it's 4 steps. It's basically getting ready, and this getting ready is about, I said earlier, what you're passionate about. What I'm going to do is bring it out of you. I'm going to help you and structure together a plan of how you can perhaps get your message in a way where people are able to say, wow, love what you're doing. Really, really good. I'm going to pull out the best in you. So I'm going to try and bring out what I believe is your expertise and what you're talking about. And then finally, what we're going to do, we're going to look into pains, how we can make sure we could turn those pains into solutions, okay? Then all of that, we're then going to create a speech, okay? How we can put a speech together. Check out the competition, look at the benefits of being the speaker you are and the amount of money you can earn. This is all in one session, okay?
Wow, yeah.
One session. The second session is going to be speaking skills, okay? We're going to look at how you speak, the way you speak, what I feel you can improve. Now, I've been speaking for 15 years. So I have got, experience on it. But ultimately, it's whether we can work together, which is obviously we need to find out as well. One of the